Have you ever really stopped to think about what's hiding in your voice? I mean, beyond just the words you're saying or the mood you're in. It turns out there's a whole layer of data, a kind of hidden acoustic signature, that can reveal some incredible secrets about your physical health. So let's dive in, because we're about to explore how the simple act of speaking could become one of the most powerful diagnostic tools we have.
I know. This sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But a question like this gets right to the heart of this incredible new field. We're all so used to asking our smart speakers about the weather or to play our favorite song, but what if the very next question we ask could actually screen us for a serious illness? This is exactly where our familiar world of voice assistants is starting to meet the absolute cutting edge of medical science.
So the core idea here is actually pretty straightforward. Your voice is a physical thing. It's created by this really complex system of organs, right? You've got your lungs pushing air, your vocal folds vibrating, and your brain and muscles pulling all the strings to make it happen. Now, when a disease messes with any part of that system, say heart disease changes your breathing, or Parkinson's weakens the tiny muscles in your larynx, it can cause these subtle, often tiny changes to the way you sound.
To really get how this all works, we need to get familiar with the one key thing that scientists are hunting for in your voice. It's something called a vocal biomarker.
Okay, think of it like this. You know how cholesterol levels in your blood can be a biomarker for heart disease risk? Well, this is the exact same idea, but for your voice. A specific pattern of vocal features, things like pitch or something called jitter and shimmer, can be a biomarker for a health condition. It's a real, measurable signal that's hiding in the sound waves of your speech and connects directly to what's going on in your body.
The whole process is basically a chain reaction. First, a disease starts somewhere in the body. That, in turn, subtly changes the mechanics of how you produce your voice. And then finally, and this is the key part, powerful AI algorithms that have been trained on mountains of voice data can pick up on these tiny, tiny alterations that the human ear would just completely miss.
All right, now this is where it gets really cool. Let's look at how this is actually being used in the real world. Because we're not just talking theory here. Researchers are already using this technology for a stunning range of diseases.
So take something like a neurodegenerative disease. For Parkinson's, changes in the voice, like it becoming softer, more monotone, or the speech getting a bit slurred, can actually show up years before the more obvious motor symptoms. And get this, these vocal changes are present in up to 78% of patients in the early stages, often way before anyone even thinks to look for the disease. That is a game changer for early detection.
And for cognitive conditions like Alzheimer's, the AI isn't just listening to the physical sound, it's analyzing the language itself. It's measuring things like how fast you talk, how long you pause, and how often you get stuck looking for a word and use fillers like or. These little linguistic hiccups can be really powerful, non-invasive signs of cognitive decline.
And the list just keeps on growing. Researchers have found real correlations between voice features and how severe someone's depression is. They've linked specific vocal signals to coronary artery disease, probably because of how it impacts your breathing. Even things like type 2 diabetes and multiple sclerosis seem to leave their own unique acoustic fingerprints that we're just now learning how to read.
So just how accurate can this technology be? Well, check this out. In a pretty incredible study, researchers at MIT built an AI model that could tell the difference between people who had COVID-19 and those who didn't based only on the sound of them coughing. The model hit an accuracy of 97%. That single number just shows you the insane potential here for fast, easy, and accessible screening.
Okay, so we know it can work, we've seen the proof, but how do you actually get from a person talking into their phone to a real, concrete health insight? Let's quickly walk through the digital pipeline that makes this whole thing possible.
It really boils down to 4 main steps. First, you need the raw material, a simple voice recording. Then, that audio gets cleaned up to get rid of any background noise, and the AI goes to work extracting hundreds of different features. The really crucial third step is training machine learning algorithms on thousands and thousands of these voice samples to find those hidden patterns linked to diseases. And then finally, the algorithms that prove to be reliable can be built into apps or medical devices for everybody to use.
Now that first step, data collection, actually presents a classic dilemma. You can bring people into a recording studio to get a super clean, high-quality recording, which is perfect for that early research phase. Or you can use smartphones and web apps to collect just massive amounts of data from people out in the real world. That gives you incredible scale, but it also means you've got a lot more work to do cleaning up all that messy background noise.
So when we say the AI listens, what is it actually listening for? Well, it's analyzing hundreds of different features all at once. On the acoustic side, it's measuring things like pitch, volume, and jitter, which is just a tiny little wobble in frequency as your vocal cords vibrate. And then on the linguistic side, it's tracking patterns, like your rate of speech, how long your pauses are, and even how complex your sentences are.
This all sounds incredibly promising, and it is. But, and you knew there was a but coming, it's not a simple straight line from the research lab to your local doctor's office. There are some really big hurdles and some very important questions we have to answer before this stuff can go mainstream.
There are three big ones that everyone in this field is talking about. First is algorithmic bias. If you train an AI mostly on the voices of, say, middle-aged men who speak English, it might not work well for anyone else. That's a huge problem. Then there's data privacy. Your voice is uniquely yours, so we have to make sure that data is locked down tight. And finally, there's clinical validation. Before any of this can be used by our doctor, it has to go through the same tough, large-scale trials as any new medical device to prove that it's actually safe and effective.
And you know, these aren't entirely new problems for AI in medicine. As one researcher points out, the voice technology world can and should learn from fields like radiology, where AI is already much more common and has already had to deal with these exact same challenges. The key is to learn those lessons so we can roll this out safely and fairly.
So yes, there are challenges, but the momentum behind this is just undeniable. So let's look ahead for a minute and try to imagine what the future of listening in healthcare might actually look and sound like.
The vision here is for a much more proactive, constantly aware system of healthcare. Just picture it, a smart mirror that does a quick vocal health checkup while you're brushing your teeth. Or virtual doctor's visits where an AI is analyzing your voice in the background to give your doctor extra data. It could mean we can monitor patients with chronic conditions remotely, just through their phone calls, creating this real-time picture of their health without them ever having to leave home.
And if you need any more proof that this is for real, just follow the money. The global market for voice technology is absolutely exploding, and healthcare is predicted to be one of the biggest pieces of that pie. The amount of investment and research pouring into this space right now is just immense.
Which leaves us with one last, kind of mind-blowing thought to chew on. For centuries, right, the stethoscope has been the absolute icon of medicine. But as we start to unlock this incredibly dense world of information that's hidden in our speech, you have to wonder, in the not-so-distant future, could the most powerful, most accessible, and most non-invasive medical tool we have be a simple microphone?